Hey, welcome back, my friends. My name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earn Your Title podcast. Last week, we had episode 1 of our 3-part episode of getting ready for the springtime learning first aid. And as I get started, I'll just say this is not a first aid class. This is just general information. Please go out there and get trained. The minimum training would be like American Heart First Aid. Probably secondary, I think would be really good, would be a class like a wilderness first responder. You learn general first aid. You also learn how to take care of problems when you don't have all the tools. And then if you had the time, if you was really motivated, in a couple months, you could become an EMT, an emergency medical technician. You get certified by your state. They have night classes where you would go like Mondays and Thursdays for 3 or 4 hours and a few Saturdays. If you're really serious about it, it's a great way to learn general how to take care of the humans in your life. And I think this is an important skill. Today, we're going to be talking about medical emergencies. But before we do that, when you decide to take action, you decide to become a first responder, realize that it is much more helpful if you can get some help. If you're trying to do it all by yourself, especially if you have the ability with people around you, it is way easier to do that. And one thing you need to do is you need to take command and take charge. And this is kind of hard. Most of us don't work in a system where people are giving orders, and sometimes giving someone an order, telling them what to do seems kind of rude or inconsiderate. I'm telling you, in an emergency, it is not the time to have a committee. It is the time to tell people what to do, and you're not being rude. If this is in your house, and this is in your family, this is at work, and you decide to take action, and you feel like you have a general idea of what needs to happen, start giving out orders. And I use that word specifically. Tell people exactly what you want them to do and use their name. You know, you're at work, you say, hey, Tom, call 911. Hey, Erica, go get the first aid kit. Hey, Sarah, I want you to go stand out on the road, and when the ambulance gets here, I want you to wave them in and tell them how to get here. Give orders. And when I'm teaching first aid classes, I always joke, like, and if you have the screamer, there's always somebody, like at least in every video on YouTube, when something bad happens, it could be a mile away, someone just starts screaming. I don't understand the survival mechanism of I'm just going to become a screamer. I don't get it. So what you do is you send them to get something, let's call it a towel. Tell them, hey, screamer, go get me a towel. And hopefully it takes them a long time. When they bring a towel back, you tell them, no, that's the wrong color, and send them out again. The goal is to get them away from the situation. They're not helping. So you decided to take action. You started giving orders. Now you have to interact with medical emergencies. So we're going to talk about the first few that you can actually make a difference in. And then there's several where you can't necessarily make a medical difference, but you'll need to use your power of negotiation, logic, and reasoning to get people to go get the help they need. So the first one, and it's unfortunate that this is the one I'm going to start with, is we have an epidemic of narcotics abuse. I will say in the past probably 6 months, the amount of overdoses we've been going on have decreased dramatically, probably for several reasons, but we are going on way less. But that's still an issue in the United States of people overdosing on a narcotic. What are the narcotics? It could be Vicodin, heroin, fentanyl, morphine, things that are usually used for pain management. And people, for whatever reason, it could be too much. It doesn't always mean it's illegal. We get plenty of people who maybe have Alzheimer's or dementia, and they'll take their Vicodin for pain management at 8 a.m. because that's when they're supposed to, and then they forgot. And at 8:30 they take it again, and at 9 they take it again. Now they've tripled the dose. They're starting to experience narcotic type problems. What is the problem you're going to experience when someone has overdosed on narcotics? It is a decreased respiratory drive. And the big one is the pinpoint pupils. Their pupils constrict really, really tiny. They call them a pinpoint because it's like the point of a pen. They get really small. So if you have someone with decreased respirations, meaning breathing less than, we'll call it around 6 or less. 12 is, 6 to 12. It's kind of a normal range if you're healthy. Once you get below 10, you're starting to slow it down. And these people are not necessarily talking to you. They're drowsy. They're mumbling. So you get slow breathing, like once every 5 or 6 seconds, not enough, and pinpoint pupils. There's a drug called Narcan. When I started my career as a paramedic, only paramedics had Narcan. These days, you can get it anywhere. There was a major medical company that was sued. It was, I believe, like $1 billion settlement. And as part of the settlement, they had to provide Narcan to the nation, basically. So now if you go to the library, you go to the police station, you get out of jail, they have free Narcan 2 milligrams of Narcan. It's almost unlimited supply. You go to the pharmacy, I'm sure you can get it. And what it does is it blocks the effects of Narcans on your narcotic receptors in your brain, and you wake up. It's truly a miracle drug. If you have someone that's experiencing what you think is a narcotic overdose, you could be wrong. But what I'm telling you, and what the literature tells you, and what the producers of Narcan telling you, if you think you should use it, you should use it. Do not worry about the side effects. They are minimal, and it's much better to give it to someone who didn't need it because you weren't sure, as opposed to not being sure and not giving it. It literally is a lifesaver. What you do is you block one nostril, you squeeze the liquid up their nose, it absorbs into their bloodstream, and it stops the effects of narcotics, and it's magical. Like, they truly go from unconscious, barely breathing, to wide awake. Now, if someone has overdosed, realize that this doesn't get rid of the narcotics in their system. It simply blocks the receptors so they stop responding to it. If there's enough narcotic in their system, when the Narcan wears off, they can re-overdose, or those symptoms can come back. It's highly encouraged that they go to the emergency room and just at least get observed to make sure that they continue to breathe. But it is a medical problem that we can fix. What's another medical problem we can fix? An anaphylactic reaction. This one's a little bit more straightforward when it comes to the treatment. The treatment for an allergic reaction or an anaphylactic reaction is an EpiPen. Usually the person will know they have a problem and they'll have an EpiPen. So you're not guessing, like, is it like in Narcan, is this an overdose? Is this sugar? Is this, they're going to say, I got stung by a bee. I'm allergic to bees. My EpiPen is in the glove box of my car. It's at the school office. It's wherever. There is a chance that this is their first reaction. And if you have a readily available EpiPen, the signs and symptoms of a anaphylactic reaction, which just means like a really out of control allergic reaction, is a swollen tongue, hives, difficulty breathing. Those are the ones you're really worried about. The swollen tongue and the hives are the important, like, this is now an emergency. This is not just, we'll get you some Benadryl. Not Benadryl, if you don't have an EpiPen, Benadryl is fine to give. But this is an emergency, but they're hopefully going to know. It's a needle. It's going to be shot into their outer thigh. You're going to read the package. It will have all the information you need. Read the package, squirt it, push it into their outer thigh. Usually you have to hold it for 5 to 10 seconds, but you literally just read the package and follow along. Or you might just go get it and they'll do it. That can save a life. Go get the Epi. Again, you give the Epi, call 911. We bring lots of Epi, and they're at one dose might not be enough, and they might not have two. So call 911, get help. The third one where we can directly interact with somebody in a medical emergency is a low blood sugar crisis or hypoglycemia. People with diabetes have a hard time metabolizing sugar. They can't get the sugar out of their bloodstream and into their cells to function. One of the places where you need lots of sugar is your brain. When you are not eating and you get mad at people, we call it being hangry. It's because you probably have low blood sugar in your brain for whatever reason. So your brain doesn't work as well. When someone that you know has diabetes and they start not acting normal, hopefully they can check their sugar and see what it is. But if you can't check their sugar, but you know they have a problem, or maybe you don't know they have a problem, but they're confused, they don't know who you are, maybe they're even angry and upset, as long as they're talking to you and you feel that they could swallow something without choking on it, so they haven't got to the point where they're unconscious, give them some sugar. There's 2 sugar problems we can have. Hypoglycemia is a medical emergency. I mean, it can kill you right now if we run out of sugar. Hyperglycemia is also a medical problem. We're not going to classify it as an emergency. Your sugar can go from 300 to 400 and you just get more sick, where if it goes from 100 to 20, just losing 80 points, you're in a bad shape. And you might be unconscious. So if we don't know and we think they have sugar problems, we're going to give them some sugar. Some of the mistakes that get made are people give them Diet Coke or Diet Soda or Diet Pop, or depending on what part of the country you're from. It doesn't have sugar in it. It needs to have sugar. It doesn't need to be Coke. You could take sugar packets, mix it up in some water, make a slurry and have them drink it. It could be something. I would encourage you to make it easy to eat, because their mental faculties could be decreasing rapidly. So don't make them like chew something like a super chewy gummy bears or something. Like, make it easy to digest. If you don't have anything though, and something has sugar in it, give it to them. That there is the danger that they have high blood sugar and they're acting weird, but just taking their sugar up 100 points, not a big deal. But taking it from 20 to 60, well, they're going to go from potentially unconscious, like almost unconscious, to being fine. So give people sugar. It's your one chance to eat candy without feeling guilty. Those are the big three that I would say from a medical emergency that you could physically interact with them and change the outcome. There's three other emergencies where we can't change the outcome, meaning I can't give you something to make you better, but it's super important that I encourage you to go and get medical attention at an emergency room. The first one is heart attack. Now, there's two words that get used, sometimes get confused. There's cardiac arrest. That is a problem. And there's heart attack. Not all heart attacks cause cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest is when your heart stops beating completely. It means to stop. Your cardiac muscles have arrested. They have stopped working. And this is when you would do CPR. And I actually debated on talking about CPR. If you show up to somebody who's unresponsive and not breathing normally, the way I would instruct you to do CPR would be, one, call 911, and they'll talk to you through it. But you're going to put your hands in the middle of their chest, and you're going to push hard and fast. How fast? Well, if you know the song Staying Alive by the Bee Gees, that fast. But again, that's a skill that I think you need to learn. But if this is the only time, if it happens tomorrow, find the middle of their chest, first call 911, then find the middle of their chest, push hard and fast. Don't worry about the details. Don't worry about the number of beats per minute. Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. And if you got to play the song, play the song. That's cardiac arrest. Heart attack is when the muscles in your heart start to die. There's two stages of this where you have heart tissue damage and then you have heart tissue death. We can recover from damage. You can sprain your ankle and that's ankle tissue damage, but we heal from that. If you had ankle tissue death, the dead tissue does not come back to life. When you have heart tissue death, it does not come back to life. And a heart attack goes through the stages of tissue damage into tissue death. How does that happen? We have vessels in our heart that bring oxygenated blood to them. They get clogged, and good oxygenated blood doesn't get to the vessels, and the vessels on the other side of the blockage will start to get hurt. When they hurt, they causes pain. They're like when you go run and you build up lactic acid in your leg, do you feel the burning? That's your heart. It's not getting enough oxygen, just like your legs aren't getting enough oxygen because you're out of shape. You start to feel a burning. Now, depending on underlying medical conditions, whether you're a man or a woman, you can feel chest pain in lots of different ways. It could be literal pain in your chest. It could be pain in your arm, pain in your jaw, pain in the middle of your back. It can be crushing pain. It can be stabbing pain. If something doesn't feel right in your chest, this is a time to go get checked out and don't just play it off. Heartburn is a big one. Lots of people die because of heartburn. Is heartburn dangerous? No, not at all. But they're actually having a heart attack and they think I'm having heartburn. So they take some Tums and it doesn't go away. They take some more Tums, doesn't go away. If you take 2 Tums and your heartburn doesn't stop, it's not heartburn. It's something else. For some reason, our body feels that chest pain in lots of different ways. Please do not put off going to the hospital. And this is where like the medical first responder turns into more like a negotiator or maybe someone that's going to use logic or science or reasoning or a plea to emotion. If you are in a situation where you have a loved one who's experiencing chest pain, they keep saying, I'm fine. Well, they were bad enough to either look bad and you asked, are you okay? You don't look good. Or if they've complained about it out loud, meaning they're not good. So if they don't look good, you recognized it, or they've complained about it, get them to go to the hospital. They're going to do a 12-lead EKG, which is not invasive. They put some stickers on their chest. They're going to see some things or not see some things. They'll probably draw some blood. They can determine if someone's having a heart attack. If there's blockage to the blood and it's just in that initial injury stage where it's just getting damaged but not dead, they can open it up fairly quickly, either using chemicals or a mechanical device where they put a catheter through your leg and they open up with like a balloon into your heart and reperfuse your heart muscle, and you will be totally fine. Completely, 100% fine. Life will go on as normal. You switch your diet up, get healthy, and you can live a long life. Or you don't do anything, your heart muscle starts to die, and when you have heart muscle that dies, it does not grow back, and then you have decreased cardiac function. And sometimes in my line of work, I've had to become the voice of reason, and the person doesn't want to go to the hospital. This happened a lot during COVID. I don't want to go to the hospital. That's where COVID's at. And we could see on the monitor, there's a thing called ST elevation. You don't need to know what that is, but it's really bad. And I'm looking at the monitor and I'm saying, see this little blip on this EKG tells me that you're having a heart attack. I don't want to go to the hospital. I want to get COVID. I'm like, I understand that. We're going to put a mask on you. Everyone will be wearing masks. And then I start breaking down, okay, what's going to happen is parts of your heart are going to start dying. If enough of your heart muscle stops dying, you will die. If you don't die, you'll not be able to walk up and down the stairs without being out of breath. You won't be able to play with your kids or your grandkids. You won't be able to go for a walk. You won't be able to stand up for extended periods of time. You won't be able to have sex with your wife. You won't be able to have, go on roller coasters. You won't be able to drive for too long, sitting because your blood's going to pool in your legs. I just go down the list of all these terrible things. And for lack of a better word, I scare them into going to the hospital. Now, there's a chance that it's nothing to do with their heart. Maybe their pancreas is doing something weird, or they just have a weird EKG, their heart is tilted, and it makes things look weird. Hopefully that's it. But get them to go to the hospital because that's where the care is at. And the faster you go, the faster they can heal. Time is tissue, meaning the longer you go with blockage in your heart, the more tissue you save or more tissue that dies. Do not let them go too long. Like whatever device you have to use, trick them, do something, get them to the hospital. That is your job as a first responder, is get them to the hospital. Number 2, this is almost identical, but instead of a blockage in your heart, it's a blockage in your brain. If you remember to my last podcast, I talked about a hemorrhagic stroke or a brain bleed. This is the opposite of that. This is a thrombolytic stroke or a blockage in the vessels of your brain. Some plaque, something has broken off and has created a stoppage of flow to the vessels that feed your brain. And depending on where it's at, it will depend on how you are affected. The big signs and symptoms of a stroke are going to be, and you don't really need to know if it's a bleed or a blockage. It's not going to affect how you care for somebody. It definitely affects how they care for them in the hospital. But for someone that's got is having stroke-like symptoms, there's 3 things that I want you to ask them, and they're very simple. I want you to say, hey, can you give me a big toothy smile? If one of the side of their face is drooping, there's a 72% chance they are having a stroke. I want you to have them say, hey, could you repeat after me, ball, tree, flag, or I want to go to the store, just a simple phrase. If they say, ball, tree, flag, I want to go to the store, it sounds like their tongue, they have like marbles in their mouth, there's a 72% chance they're having a stroke. If you have them close their eyes, keep their hands out in front of them, if one of their arms drifts down, they're having a 72% chance they're having a stroke. Just any one of those signs, it's called the Cincinnati Pre-Hospital Stroke Scale, any one of those signs, they are probably having stroke. You combine 2 or all of them, you can be definitive. You're having some type of stroke activity. Go to the hospital and get it checked out. Could it be something else? Yes, there's a thing that's called Bell's palsy where your face droops down. But if your face is drooping down, that's not normal. Go to the hospital, get it checked out. Just like your brain, or just like your heart, if the tissue dies, it doesn't regenerate. If the tissue in your brain dies, it doesn't regenerate. And if someone won't go to the hospital, and this is where it's usually when someone's having a heart attack, it maintains. It doesn't turn on and off. And if they get to the point where they're complaining about it, maybe it was turning on and off, it hurt, then it didn't hurt. Now they're at the point where there's a blockage. There's a thing called a trans-ischemic attack where there's some blockage and then it breaks free and now it's open. And for several reasons this can happen, but basically they lose, their face starts to droop. They can't talk normally, and then it comes back and they feel fine. They are not fine. Their body is going, there's a problem. There's a problem. There's a problem. I'm telling you, there's a problem. And the problem turns on, problem turns off, problem turns on, problem turns off. It's not going to fix itself. Go to the hospital. They'll do a CAT scan. They'll say, oh, look, there's a blockage. We can fix it. There's drugs they can fix it with. There's some surgery they can fix it with. Lots of things they can fix things with. Go to the hospital. Get it fixed. Stroke is a heart attack in the brain. It's a brain attack, and time is tissue. And the faster they can get care, the better. And the care is amazing. You could have a stroke, start having a stroke, have these symptoms. They get it done quickly, and you have no deficits whatsoever. You don't have to relearn how to walk or to talk or to eat or to, you have full access to moving your limbs. You can help somebody. Now, it's different than like a tourniquet that I talked about last week, where you put a tourniquet on, you save their life, you did something. What you're doing is encouraging them to do the right thing. Annoy them to do the right thing. Plead with them to do the right thing. Get them to the hospital as quickly as possible. Time is tissue. The last medical issue that I will talk about is a seizure. Seizures can cause death. That's usually caused by when you start seizing, you stop breathing. And really what I want you to know is almost what not to do with a seizure. Someone has a seizure, if it's a known seizure activity, it might not be an emergency at all. They'll know kind of once they wake up what they should be doing. But a seizure in general is what we're thinking about as a grand mal seizure, where their entire body is shaking. But you can have different types of seizures, but I'm talking about the big one where their whole body is shaking. What you can do for them is keep them from hurting themselves, which means if they fall on the ground and it's on the hard ground, if it's on the concrete, protect their head. Put a pillow underneath their head, maybe hold their head lightly. What we don't want to do is hold them down. Sometimes people have seizures and they'll grab their arms. Well, their arms are contracting so hard because your brain is basically glitching that they can break their own bones and pull ligaments because they can't control it. So control the things that you can control, meaning if they're in a china shop, move the china away, right? So the glass isn't falling on them. If their head is on the ground, keep their head from banging off the ground. They can't control it. What we do not do is we don't stick things in their mouth. Now, they could bite their tongue. That does happen because their body, again, clenches down. Don't stick a spoon in there. Don't stick your finger in there if you like your finger. Keep things out of their mouth. Keep them safe. Call 911. When they wake up, realize they're going to be confused. Maybe they don't know what's going on. They can lose control of their bodily functions. So remove people so they're not embarrassed when they start to wake up. Realize when they do start to wake up, they will be confused, almost guaranteed, and get them to the hospital. It's not something that we can, necessarily prevent. But if someone says, hey, I think I'm about to have a seizure, help them get on the ground. Sometimes people have auras where they know it's about to happen. Basically, prevent them from any further damage and call 911. And those, I think, there's obviously lots of other medical problems. We could talk about choking and things where, you do back slaps and abdominal thrusts, but I want you to go get a class on that. I don't think I can adequately teach you over the internet through a podcast, but sugar is a problem. Give them sugar. Allergies, give them their epi, Narcan. Decreased respirations, pinpoint pupils, give them Narcan. And then for heart attack and stroke, get them to the hospital. You can be a lifesaver. I hope you've enjoyed this. We got one more podcast. We're going to talk about environmental emergencies. So I will talk to you next week. This has been the Earn Your Title Podcast, and I am Danny Dumas, and I will see you later. Bye.